Hi guys, this is our, sorry about that. This is our third flipped assignment and lecture. This lecture is going to be about the Articles of Confederation and what led to that. First, I have attached a link to the Schoolhouse Rock song Shot Heard Around the World, which you should be familiar with, and if you're not, you can watch it. It's very sing-alongable. So just recap the events that led up to the Shot Heard Around the World. Why were the colonists upset? What provoked the attack on Lexington and Concord? And what's going to happen next in the American Revolution? So again, I'll upload a link to that video. Watch it, answer these questions. And again, this is how your flipped assignment should be organized. This is a quote that I had you all look at in the last lecture from King George III. Blows must decide whether they are to be subject to this country or independent. King George was clearly willing to fight for what was presumably his. So in the last lecture, I talked about the First Continental Congress, which was mostly Thomas Jefferson and Hancock. They formed as a result of a lot of the taxation policies, the Townshend Acts, the Stamp Acts, that sort of thing. And they asked for the taxation to end. The Second Continental Congress forms, and it forms about a year later, and it includes all of the colonies, including Georgia, who did not join the first time. John Hancock is chosen to be president of the colonies. George Washington is appointed as commander-in-chief, and he starts organizing an army. So, he leaves the British Army that he's worked for most of his adult life. They discuss the need to print and issue their own money to pay for the war, supplies, treaties, support, that sort of thing. Though towards the end, the Continental Congress is getting so poor, and the American money that they printed is so worthless that when the army has to buy supplies, they actually have to use British money. It gets weird. The Second Continental Congress is technically the first government of the United States. It is the government that governs us during the American Revolution for 5 years, and technically it's a group of traitors. Had we lost the war, they would have probably been hanged for treason. The Continental Congress lasts from July 4th, when they ratify their Declaration of Independence, until March 1st of 1781. This is Independence Hall in Philadelphia, where the Declaration was written and signed and ratified. So Congress, the Second Continental Congress, names a committee of 5. It's headed by Thomas Jefferson, and they work on writing the Declaration of Independence. It's put on the floor for debate on July 2nd and officially adopted on the 4th. It probably takes a while to get to King George, though. The 3 main parts of the Declaration, though, is a statement of basic human rights, specifically life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. A list of grievances that the colonists have about the treatment of King George, from King George and from Parliament, and how serious they are about separating from Great Britain. So basically, once they send this declaration, war is unavoidable. There's a really good song from the Hamilton soundtrack, from the perspective of King George around this time. I'll upload a link to that too, just because it's a good song and you should listen to it. So the war happens. Obviously, we win. It's a hard-fought war. I can't talk. I think I'm dying. But you guys learned all the details in American history, so I'm going to skip over them. The important part is this is America. We won. We signed the Treaty of Paris in 1783. It was so embarrassing to General Cornwallis that he wouldn't even come and surrender in person. It was awesome. So now we have to form a more permanent government. So we create the Articles of Friendship, also known as the Articles of Confederation and Perpetual Union. In the first lecture, I went over the differences between a unitary, a federal, and a confederal government. So if you need to refer back to that, feel free to. So the Second Continental Congress is the the group that forms this government. They form it officially in 1777. And they want a government completely different than that of the British Empire. Sort of. Except when, you take into account that the British Empire's government actually is pretty high functioning and not necessarily a bad government. I mean, it's not an absolute monarchy. It's limited. It has representatives. With the exception of the colonists, they are responsive to the issues of their people. So the Articles of Confederation, under the Articles of Confederation, Congress is allowed to raise armies, they're allowed to declare war, they're allowed to sign treaties. Basically, they're given every power that they need to declare war on Great Britain again, but nothing else. They're not allowed to raise taxes or revenue through taxes. They can ask to borrow money or to have grants from states, but they can't require states to give them tax money. Congress is not allowed to regulate trade. They're not allowed to collect tariffs. Trade is all conducted by individual states. There's actually an issue over trade on the Hudson in which New Jersey gets angry at New York because of conflicting trade rights through the Hudson River, and New Jersey starts formulating a military invasion of New York as a result. It just becomes really messy. The federal government legally doesn't have the right to step in or do anything about it. So this is where we're going to end. What I would like for you to do is analyze the weaknesses of the Confederation and then list the 3 most important things that get included in the Constitution as a remedy to the problems caused by the Articles. If you have any questions, refer to your textbook or ask me during Eagle Ops. I'll see y'all tomorrow.